Okay, so first I'm gonna test my graphics card to see how hot it gets so I have a bit of comparison to do. So right now the graphics card, it's around 40 degrees idle, which is kind of hot. 39, it's going down. And we're pretty much at, idle, 0% utilization. So I'm gonna stress test it with a bit of mining because this is gonna use it to its 100%, and we're gonna see how loud the fans kick in too. So let's start mining. It's benchmarking. Okay, so let's just start mining. As you can see, the load is 100% and the temperature is going up. So let's see how hot this graphic card really gets. You probably are able to hear the fans starting to kick in. If we go into advisors, tuning, we can see that the fans are at full blast, and you probably can hear it. So it's at around 65. Um, I have seen this graphics card reach all the way to 80 degrees, and I actually one time saw it go to 90. Now, CPUs, 90 is usually a safe spot. Some CPUs can go all the way to 105. Graphics card, on the other hand, 90 is pretty much, pretty dangerous. That's kind of like, be careful. So ideally, I would recommend staying, at least 10 degrees of what the manufacturer recommend. So yeah, like I said, most graphics card 90 degrees is their limit. I recommend just staying at 80, just in case something, one of your fan dies or whatever. You at least have a bit of wiggle space before, well, you actually notice. So as you can see, we're doing a bit of mining with a low miner, and we're around 65 degrees. With this setup, it's not going to get hotter. Well, in other applications, it might get hotter. So let's launch a game and see what happens. Okay, so now we're in Splinter Cell Blacklist. Thank you very much. So it's a relatively oldish game. It's not like new, but the graphics are pretty nice. So as you can see, GPU is around 56, 55 degrees, and we're getting around 60 to 70 frames. And I'm playing on Ultra. So let's just, let's see. Okay, so now it's loading into the game, and we're just gonna see. So as you can see, I mean, the graphics are pretty good for an old game. I'm getting around 80 FPS, and yeah, I mean, it's nothing like totally insane. But I'm just testing it. Okay, so now that we got a bit of results, so I'm gonna remove my graphics card, install the IAO. We're gonna come back now. Something that I do recommend. So I have the RX580, which is a pretty good graphics card. I bought it used, so I didn't pay a bunch of money for it. I recommend lowering the voltages because this graphics card is kind of known for getting hot. So I just recommend messing around, especially with the voltages. I found out that at the max state, which is pretty much when your graphics card is running at its full potential at 100%, I recommend 1050 millivolts. There have been some games, like for example Mad Max and which other game was it? I remember, but I remember Mad Max. And The Evil Within, the first one. I remember that I was playing it around 1000 millivolts, and there was a bunch of like texture errors. So if you see any errors when devolting or undervolting, it's probably you got a little too low. So yes, if you see a bunch of like weird textures and your game crashes, probably need to crank up the voltage a little bit more. But yeah, at 1050 it's pretty good. So I'm gonna go install that on my graphics card and we'll do a bit of comparison to see if it's actually worth the money. So I'm just gonna do a quick unboxing here. So it's a pretty nice package. We got the user manual. Just put that aside. You know, we got a 120 millimeter fan, which actually glows red. We got a bit of hardware. Let's see here. We got more hardware and a bunch of screws and cables. And here we have the AIO. So it's pretty decent packaging, nothing spectacular. Yeah, that's about everything. Oh wait, there's an extra goodie. Ah, we got the heat sinks for our VRAMs. And that's about everything. I'm just gonna throw that out. So here, I'm just gonna disassemble my graphics card. It's not really hard. You just gotta be careful. Make sure you don't accidentally poke something. So I'm just removing the screws here and removing the heat sink from the actual card itself. As you can see, it's a pretty massive heat sink with a couple of heat pipes. I'm just gonna leave that aside. So you want to make sure that you cover the VRAMs in this with the heat sinks that were included. Make sure you clean everything thoroughly. Here I'm just applying the little heat sinks with the sticky pads. So yeah, just make sure you cover the important stuff. So I'm just gonna show a couple of images here that were on the box, a couple information. This is how my computer used to look, and here we could see the IEO installed. Closer look. Doesn't cover very well, but works pretty good. And here's my okay, so I just got the whole thing installed in my computer, the AIO, everything. So right now, if we check a little program called Open Hardware Monitor, pretty much tells you the temperature of everything. So as you can see right now, my GPU core, it's at 35 Celsius, which it's 5 degrees less than previously. So in AMD settings, I mean, you don't get control of the fans anymore because you're just using 12 volts direct. So let's start mining and see what happens. Okay, so I'm mining apparently, and it's so freaking quiet. So before, my max temperature on LOL miner was 65. Yeah, 65. I'm at 51 degrees. So I'm gonna leave it for a while, and I mean, If it's a 10-degree difference, that's pretty good, but as you can see, it's climbing. So, first of all, it's it's so quiet than before, the fans just crying. So, we'll just see. Okay, so it's been a while and it settled at 57 degrees, which is pretty good. We were looking at 65, 66 to just have it drop 9 degrees. So 10 degree difference is pretty good if you say so, if you ask me. And it is so quiet now. The one that the AIO that I bought is the 120 millimeter version. There is a 240, but it's kind of more expensive. So I would probably recommend getting the 240 version. I might get the CPU cooler because it's cheaper and getting the 240 version. So I might mod it, but it's I recommend it. I mean, you could probably just glue, you know, two 120 millimeter fans onto your graphics card, but it's kind of a hassle. Plus, it's liquid cool. You could just tell your friends, "Oh, I got a liquid cool GPU," and be one of those cool kids. So yeah, I would probably recommend this. I mean, do whatever you want with it.